Hi guys, in this video I will be sharing a little bit of my experience using the first language lessons in our homeschool. I used the entire program with my eldest, the first and second level, most of the second level with my second daughter, and the first level and just about the first 3 lessons with my youngest. I really do like this curriculum. It worked really well as a spine from all 4 levels, worked really well as a spine for my eldest. But I did have just a little bit of hiccups when it came to doing sentence diagramming, but I'll get a little bit more into that. But for my second and my youngest, I realized that I needed a new spine for grammar. However, levels 2 and 3 I would be using as reference as we have made the switch to fixed grammar. Now, I can't say so much about this since we are new to this program, but so far I do like this. So God's spare at probably around like halfway during the term or the end of the first quarter, whichever one seems to make more sense. I think I'll come back and share how this is working and just a couple other things that we chose this year. Just kind of give an update, so to speak, on that. But I am liking that fixed grammar. This year, I'm really trying to focus on the language arts in our homeschool, specifically grammar and writing, and then maybe vocabulary and reading comprehension. And with that in mind, that grammar curriculum, the way how it's structured, it's really approaching it in the way that I thought would work better for particularly my two younger ones. And what I mean by that is, instead of us just learning new grammar terms and repetitively going through it and here and there practicing finding or being able to identify those grammar terms in whether it's a sentence or a passage, but repetitively doing it like that, where we're seeing how the grammar is functioning in a sentence. That's the approach that book takes, and I think that approach is going to work a little bit better for my younger two. That being said, however, I really do like this curriculum, and if we weren't having any hiccups, I probably would have stuck with this. Now, for my eldest, this worked really well. When I first started to homeschool, I really looked basically all my curriculum early on in my homeschool journey. I was looking for curriculums where it was either scripted or, for the most part, it was set up in a way where it would basically hold my hands and help me to, like figure out how to teach my kids at home. And also at that time, I was also learning the school system here. And that is one of the things that I really like about this curriculum. It is scripted out for you. It tells you exactly what to say. It also tells you or gives you an idea of what it is your kids' response should or might sound like. And it even encourages you, if it is they respond not using, like, say, full sentences, it encourages you to, like, just gently give them the correct answers. And what it is I did is, when my eldest, when she answered the questions, even if it was correct, I usually would say, yes, that's correct. And I would still read to her the answer the way that it was written in there. And I found that over time that actually helped improve her responses. So that's just a little side note. But anyway, so one of the things that I really liked about this curriculum is, one, that it was scripted, and I'm sure that has not the first time that you heard that if you have been watching reviews on this. Secondly, because I needed something to kind of walk me through, together with the learning style of the first child that I used this with, it just worked really well together. She learns really well through like listening, but also through reading, and those two. So if you have a little one that learns well that way, I think those two together, it really makes this a good curriculum to use in that with when those two factors kind of come together, if that makes sense, right? Thirdly, I do like this can be a positive or negative based on your style of teaching, but also your child's style of learning, and that is that repetitive nature. Now, when I first used this curriculum, I liked that because it was constantly reinforcing, you know, what was being learned. After a while, however, it can become a bit much, especially if it is you are using this together with the writing with ease. When it comes to the copy work and dictation, because the two curriculum, they tend to overlap each other because I think they're meant to go together. It can become a little bit repetitive. Now, if it is you, when I first started, let me speak about myself. When I first started, I did not, for certain things, copy work, I did feel comfortable in skipping those. So a lot of the copy work, especially in the first language lessons, by the time we got to the second and the third, the end of the second book and the third and the fourth book, a lot of the copy work, I would skip it in the first language lessons, and we would just do the copy work, most of the copy work in the writing with ease. That was most of them. Not all. If I think that it would help, we did it, but most of the copy work, we started to skip in this and just do the dictation and move on to the writing with ease. So that can be a positive or a negative. The way how each book is set up is they take like this 4-strand approach where you do a lot of memory work through poem memorizations, and we enjoyed a lot of the poems. So if it is you have a little one that enjoys poems, maybe they would enjoy it. The reason why I enjoyed a lot of the poem memorization was because they weren't just learning random poems, they were learning things that, you know, that they would basically be using or needed to learn anyway. So a lot of the poem memorizations we did enjoy. When we came around to the second book, and we were learning things like linking verbs and helping verbs, still sticking on that point of memorization, they encourage you to like clap or, you know, like sing a song or whatever. And I actually made up a song for us for the helping verbs, to the extent where now that we are doing fixed grammar, in the second week, I think it's either day 1 or day 2 in the second week, where they introduce the linking verbs. Week 2, in the learned section, they give you the list of linking verbs and helping verbs. And for the helping verbs, my daughter is actually going to be putting a little note in her book using the order that it is in this book, because the song, it's already like stuck in their head.
Would make my must can could.
One more time.
Am is I was with D being big. Have has had you does did shall will should would may might must can could.
All right. So she just wants to be able to just continue. I'm showing the level 1, but it's actually level 2 book. She wants to be able to continue using it in that same order since you already memorized it. So anyway, the way how it's set up in a 4-strand system where they do a lot of memory work, poems, and also memorizing different terms. So I mean, as I said, based on your style and your kid's style, you will have to decide if you enjoy doing that. Then it has a lot of copy work and dictation work. The first book just has mostly copy work, but by the time they get to the second book, they start to do copy work, but also a little bit of dictation. Then the third strand is narration, and that narration includes a little bit of like summarizing by the time they get to the fourth book. And then of course the fourth strand is grammar, where in each book they're introducing new grammar terms, and by the time they get to the fourth book, it's, you know, the grammar terms are just more advanced. So it's set up in this 4-strand system, and in each book it just gets a little bit more advanced. Now, with regards to sentence diagramming, they don't start introducing sentence diagramming until they get to the book 3. And that was probably the only area where I had issues when I was using it with my eldest. Now, for you, that may not be an issue. You may do sentence diagramming in this, and it may be really simple. For the very simple sentence diagramming, we were able to do it with I was able to do it with my eldest because she used the entire program. However, we had a little bit of issues, but that is probably because I'm not I don't know how to say it, I did not do sentence diagramming in school. Now, I did share in my 7th grade curriculum, I have a book and a playlist that I have saved, and we are going to be starting that, not this Friday as I'm making this video, next Friday. We are going to be doing it. I'm trying it again as a group. Now, I was thinking about the fact that probably because it was my first, real go at this, that it was a hiccup, and if we were to try it again, even using this program, it may work, like that whole concept of like the first time, if you struggle with something, if you kind of step away from it and you come back, you might be able to see it with new eyes, who knows. But when I used it the first time, and I didn't get to sentence diagramming in this with my second or even my third, but with my first, that was the only area where we had a little bit of issues. But anyway, I did enjoy this program for her. It worked really well for the most part, with a little bit of hiccups with the sentence diagramming. With my second daughter, however, by the time we got to that point, that constant repetition, of course, I would have been doing, the program all over again. So, it became a little bit, let's just go with the word much. But also, I think that for her, I realized that I needed something where instead of her just learning and through repetition, new grammatical terms, and sometimes having practice where she would be able to identify those terms or parts of speech or whatever within an actual sentence, I think that it was not really working very well for her. So by the time we got to the close to the end of the second book, I just decided to just put it down and take our time and look for a new spine. Now, in the meantime, we were using just random things as, I guess, as supplements until I found a new spine for us for grammar. So we did a bit of levels 1, 2, and 3, just random exercises in this Evermore grammar and punctuation set. Every time I use Evermore books, I really like their books, but I always use it in a very, I guess, loose manner. I never really do it from cover to cover, and I probably said that quite a few times. We've had this book for a very long time. She read this so many times. So, she read through this multiple times. Now, I only added this year, but she read it twice already. And we also had an online supplement that we use on a Friday, and it has some language arts in there. So that's what I did with my second daughter once we started to have hiccups using this as our main spine. Now, I do want to add in here that if I at the time had felt comfortable with not just as I said earlier on in the video, when it came to copy work, I felt confident in just skipping over that. But at that time in my homeschool journey, personally, I guess I didn't feel confident enough in just taking apart the curriculum and taking, I guess, the main topics and just focusing on that and leaving the rest of it in order to be able to continue using the first language lessons. That was then. Now I I would feel more comfortable doing that. However, I just don't think that this style is best for her. So I say that to say that if you feel confident that, if you find it to become a little bit, repetitive, and you feel confident in just taking out the main topics and focusing on that and leaving all of the extra stuff that you think may not be necessary, then that might be an option because it is a really good curriculum. But I just didn't feel confident in doing that because I just kept feeling, I had the thought or the fear at the time that I may take out stuff that might be necessary and then cause them, extra gaps. Let's go with that. So that's another reason why this did not work for my second daughter. Now with my last, it just came down to I was just ready to do something else, and that was it. I really don't have any cons when it came to her. It was just I was just ready to do something else. Now for my last daughter, because she only did this first level and the first 3 exercises in the second level, she is moving on to this fixed grammar a little bit early. Now I feel like she has enough information to be able to move on to this. Now this is recommended, I guess, for grades 3, the level 1 and 2 is recommended for grades 3 to 5, level 2, 3 and 4 for grades 6 to 8, and then the levels 5 to 6 for grades 9 to 12. Now I believe, based on her covering this, and also because she's in the same home with her older sisters, she actually knows the linking verbs and helping verbs songs from this. And as I said, we have like a online thing that they do on a Friday. I believe that she would be able to comfortably do the level 1 in this fixed grammar. However, because she did not complete the first 2 levels in this first language lessons, which is really like the foundation, I guess, for the elementary years, that's why I would be keeping the second and the third book as reference, even though we are using a new spine. So now that I feel more comfortable in just taking what it is I need and leaving the rest, I have already gone through this one, not the level 3 as yet, and go through the different sections that I foresee that she might have issues with. And if when it's introduced in this book, or even when they get God Spare to the level 2 book, if it is we are having issues with just using the learned section here, if after going through the learned section in this, it's not sufficient for her to understand the concept, then I would just refer back to the first language lessons. So that's how I will be using the level 2 and 3 as reference, even though we are using a new curriculum. The levels 3 and 4 in the first language lessons, if you were to go by grades, is recommended for like grade 3, grade 4. So that being said, that's where this book starts off. So I really don't think I might need to, like to refer to the level 4. I'm thinking that by the time they go through level 1, and of course level 2 builds on level 1, and then level 3 builds upon, by the time we have gone through this, and at least the level 2, I'm thinking that I wouldn't need to refer back to the first language lessons. This, I'm hoping, would start to build upon its own self. But anyway, in general, I really did enjoy the first language lessons, especially with my eldest. As a new homeschooler at the time when I chose this, it really did hold my hands, and I was able to follow through the entire thing. I personally enjoyed a lot of the poem memorizations. I actually have one or two of the kids' poems on my, like, earlier on in my channel, so we enjoyed it. We enjoyed making up, like the little songs and stuff. Now, the enrichment activities that they have included, when we did the first book, I do remember us doing an enrichment activity where they, what it was, I think it was to go to the post office, have them write a letter to a family member and go to the post office. I might have a clip somewhere. If I could find it by chance, I'll include it. I remember us doing that enrichment activity. That just stuck in my head. But outside of that, I usually, just skip that. But that's what it is. The enrichment activity is if you want to go a little bit deeper, right? But outside of that, outside of skipping the enrichment activities, I did enjoy using it it worked with my first daughter, but I think the style of grammar in this, even though it worked for my first and I like it, I just think that I needed something else for my second, and I'm choosing something different for my youngest for to function as our grammar spine. But this is going to be a close supplement for grammar even while we are using fix-it grammar. Anyway, I will wrap this video up here. I was trying not to take so long, but it's already 20 minutes. Anyway, if by chance you happen to listen to the entire video, thank you very much for watching. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them below and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll talk to you in another video. Bye.